Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you a way to do a level 99 clear on Aldibah that is a little bit cheaper than my previous videos. Also, it can get you a little bit of rank, so we're going to turn on some modifiers, but not all of them. So the ones that we always want to turn on are the elemental resist down mods and the enemy HP lock, because those are basically free modifiers. They're really not going to change your clear at all. They're very easy to handle. Now for this clear, I'm also going to turn on the HP 75% modifier because I did a test run and I know that one is fine. With the team I am using, it's not a super powerful team, so we're going to leave the other modifiers off. This is like a midway clear between trying to score a little bit, trying to be a little bit of a budget run, and trying to just show some different units instead of the meta choices like Esther, Roberta, Laura, etc. So we're going to be using pretty replaceable units. All of these can be basically swapped at will, except for General Celes for the specific strategy. Now, if you don't have her, this is going to be quite a bit more challenging because then you have to deal with survival. But if you do have General Celes, the rest of the party can be mixed and matched mostly at will. So I'll explain the team at the end of the video and when I show the gear. But for now, we're going to get a clear in. So this is going to be a turn 8 clear because we're going for like a kind of, not high score, but an okay score to get you some rank. So here's the ambush where you know that it does lots of gravity damage. So Runda, the free tank everyone has, is going to cover on turn 1, run to barrier for ice resist for later, and we're going to do Shelga, +2. Make sure you enhance him. Wait for this to finish. Alright, Kresnik can just do Arcane Stimulant. Now, if you don't have Kresnik, he's not required. We are not going to imbue the boss, because that is unique to Kresnik only. He is just here literally to fill the morale gauge. So replace him with any morale filler you want. General Celes is going to start in the shift form for auto buffing, go to the base form, and cast her skill. She is passive provoking for the single target magic stuff. Selfie is going to triple. We're going to do boost. This is a heal, a small heal, as well as a status immunity buff. So we're going to boost. We're going to Travia's Light to heal the party a little bit. And we'll do Aura for a LB fill buff. Okay. Whimsical Tiana is going to quadruple. We're going to Trouble Brewing for the Throwing in Peril. Flaming Concoction for Fire Amp. Nutritious Tonic for more healing as well as break immunity. And Revitalizing Brew for healing over time. Yigni on this turn is going to start in the shift for auto buffing and go to the base. We're going to Novice Spell. That's going to break the boss. We're going to Advanced Fire to imbue himself. And then we're going to just, on this turn, nothing else really. We'll just use Advanced Fire a few more times. You got to hit the boss with one of his weak elements every single turn. So Fire is done by Yigni this turn. Okay, so we didn't really full heal. It doesn't really matter. We're going to physical cover all the damage with Runda. He's going to physical cover the entire fight. We're never going to use magic cover. He's evading, as you can see. Now, the chromatic waves are handled by General Celes. She is very good at handling chromatic wave. Okay. I gave Runda chromatic heart. Mechanical heart, so that we can get a little bit of extra morale, because morale is a little trickier on this party. Okay, so on turn 2, Kresnik is just going to use Arcane Stimulant again. Now, it doesn't technically stack, but actually, I'd really rather, if I could, get his LB this turn. We're going to try it. So we need to get General Celes's LB every single turn. So this turn, we're going to use Selfie to entrust to General Celes. We're going to use Ready, and we're going to use Aura to fill LB gauge. Because we really want to get Kresnik's LB if we can. Got it. Okay, so we're going to use Kresnik's LB and General Celes's LB. Now, if you didn't get Kresnik's LB, you can Arcane Stimulant a second time, but we did get it, so we're going to use it, and we'll Stimulant next turn. This is going to give us more morale and more healing. Okay, Runda on this turn can do his LB as well. That's going to give us himself bigger physical mitigation, because the boss does have accuracy this turn, so Runda's going to be taking physical hits. We're not imbuing the boss, we're just straight up covering it. Okay, now Yigni on this turn is going to get set up. We're going to do Fruits of Research. This is an 85% break, because the boss is going to start doing more damage this turn, so 85% break. We're going to refresh his imbue. We're going to do Vitality Fountain for a quintuple cast. And then we're going to do Novice Spell. We're going to shift Tiana and start stacking her up. As you know, she is a very, very, very slow mage. So we're going to stack her for a lot of turns now. Now, we're not going to chain this turn either, but it doesn't really matter yet. This is still just mostly setup. The boss has mitigation and all that, so it's kind of like whatever. We're mostly filling morale and waiting till turn 5. If you're using more powerful units, with the strategy I'm specifically using, you want to not push the threshold until turn 5. Now, you could if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Well, I mean, you can if you want to, but you would have to adjust your party's actions instead of copying my actions. Anyway, so there are some chromatic waves. The chromatic waves are really not dangerous if you've got Celes on the party and you have the attack on the attack magic modifier turned off, which we do. Okay, so we need to get General Celes's LB again. Now there are ways to fill it every single turn, like through random drops and all that, but for safety, that's why I brought Selfie. So we're going to imbue, I keep saying imbue, entrust Celes. We're going to boost for the status immunity and aura to fill LB gauge again. So we're going to use Celes's LB. Kresnik will Arcane Stimulant, again, just for more and more and more morale. Now we're going to start chaining for some actual damage. The boss's mitigation has been reduced to, I think, only 25% at this point. Unfortunately, we are still stacking up our Tiana, but we're going to go ahead and chain this up. And this will help start working the boss down, because, you know, the boss is pretty bulky, and we're not using all those meta options like Esther and all, so pushing that threshold by turn 5 is a little bit tricky. So Runda can just cover here, Protectica and Shelga. Now, keep in mind, this turn, we are going to take a lot of magical damage. The boss is going to use a lot of AoE ice damage, a lot of AoE magical non-elemental damage, on top of the usual waves. So this is going to be kind of painful. Without General Celes, this might be very painful, but you should mostly survive. It, of course, depends on RNG and your gear. So there it is. Now, keep in mind, I did not cure the Imperils with Kresnik. If you're having problems surviving turn 3, then on turn 3, have Kresnik use Antioxidant, and that will cure your Imperils, and you'll take basically no damage. I know from practicing this, I could survive turn 3 without covering it at all with General Celes's buffs and Runda's buffs and all that, which was fine. Again, if you're having problems surviving it, use Antioxidant. Anyway, we are now back in the base form with Kresnik, so Selfie is going to start off with entrusting General Celes. Now we're just going to do Aura twice. Celes can LB. So we're going to push the threshold next turn. Let's go ahead and do this. Kresnik will take over immunity buffs. He will do all this. And Runda can just repeat. And we'll go ahead and chain this up. The boss, I think, still has one more turn of mitigation. I think, maybe. Yeah, last turn. No, he doesn't, actually. Okay, well, that's fine. Whatever. But now morale has been pushed up pretty high. So we'll be able to push the remainder of that threshold next turn without too much. Yeah, we're at 85% morale, or 185. So the next threshold should be pretty fine. And if you're using better DPS than, you know, Janky, Yigni, and Tiana, you can definitely have it a lot easier. But I kind of went a little bit more defensive on this party, because I'm trying to keep it sort of budget. Although once you see the gear, you're going to lose your mind, because I didn't hold back on gear. I'm going like STMRs to the wall. But the units are kind of cheap, even if the gear isn't. And I probably could have reduced the gear somewhat. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have, but too late at this point. Anyway, so we're going to use Runda to just SLB here. That's going to give us big mitigations for later. It's time to push that threshold. So we're going to do this. And to make sure that we do it, we're going to have... Well, first of all, let's do this. Let's do this, this, and this for morale. Selfie... I'm sorry, for the chain count score, Selfie is going to triple Chaos Wave Awakened, and so is General Celes. We don't need mitigation on the threshold turn. So General Celes will just do Chaos Wave Awakened as well. Let's get our attack and magic buff. And okay, so we're going to chain all these guys up. They're all using Chaos Wave Awakened. This will give us that 100 count chain score. You know, because again, we're trying to score, so we're trying to get all the scores possible. So there is the threshold. You know, we definitely overpushed it, but it wasn't like a huge overpush because the boss does have the defense and spirit buff in phase 1. So there is the threshold where it does all the gravity damage. So we're going to use General Celes to mitigate us again. Now we're going to get ready for a big burst to try to, like, quote-unquote, score high if possible. So we're going to shift Tiana, we're going to Trouble Brewing, Flaming Red, Nutritious Tonic, and Revitalizing Brew. Yigni is going to imbue himself. We're going to Fruits of Research to break the boss. We're going to Gemini Enchantment to modifier boost. And we're going to do Vitality Fountain for quadcast. Selfie is going to triple. We're going to entrust to Celes. We will boost and aura. Let's see. Kresnik can do heal, antioxidant, and supplement. And Runda can just do whatever. We can cover, we can Runda barrier, and we can Shelga. And we didn't full heal, but it doesn't really matter. We don't really need it. It's fine. Okay. So we're still getting ready for the burst in a moment. Now, as long as we kill the boss by turn 8, we don't have to worry about the attack and magic buff. And as you can see, you know, the damage is very, very low if the attack and magic mod is turned off and General Celes is on the party, which is the case for this clear. I wonder if with General Celes on the party, I could turn on the attack and magic mod as well. That would make it a lot harder, so I don't know, but you can play with it, I guess. But who knows? Okay, so we're going to shift Yigni on turn 7 and do his shifted LB. This is a bigger Fire Imperil, 135%, just for even more damage. We're going to shift Tiana and do her shifted LB. This is going to give only herself, unfortunately, but 150 Aqua Killer buff. General Celes can do her LB for mitigation. Kresnik can just do his stuff. Selfie, we don't need to entrust General Celes anymore, so for morale, Selfie will just do boost, and we'll just do Trabia's Light twice for more morale. Runda can cover and whatever. Okay, and we will kill the boss next turn. Okay. Yeah, the survival is pretty easy. You know, we're evade covering all the physical with Runda, and even when the boss has accuracy, Runda takes it like a champ. General Celes makes the magic damage a non-issue, and yeah, so there you go. And Selfie keeps General Celes nice and topped off. Okay. And it is time to kill. Back to the base form with Yigni. We're going to ×5 Novice Fire Chaos Wave Awakened. I'm pretty sure Tiana is stacked up at this point. I don't actually know. Do we have any Chaos Wave Awakened with Runda? We don't, so he'll just guard. General Celes, just for the sake of tossing in every speck of damage possible, we'll do Blizzaga 3 times. Kresnik can just toss in. You know what? Just to make sure the morale score is maxed out, we're gonna have Kresnik do morale stuff this turn. Selfie, we'll just toss in some chaining just to do all the damage possible. Where's her Earth skill? Let's see. All that's good. We'll toss this in for morale. We'll toss this in for morale. We'll toss this in for morale. Don't click Remedial Will. That will sabotage your run. And we'll do a Resounding Will. And okay, this should definitely finish off the boss. You know, hopefully. If it doesn't, you might want to turn off the 75% HP mod. But it depends on your gear, of course. But if your gear is strong, or if your units are even stronger, you'll definitely finish off the boss on that turn, turn 8. And we did 1.3. I mean, we needed 2.5. This is why it says like a kind of sort of cap. I'm sorry, a kind of sort of high score run. It is certainly not anything like a rank 1 clear, but it's for those of you that don't have great options, but you still want to like try your best. So here's an option to do something. So here's the breakdown. Tiana definitely way better than this at Yigni. To be fair, Tiana had a weapon in peril, Yigni did not. Tiana had killers, Yigni did not. But then again, Tiana's better than Yigni anyway, so yeah. So there it is. I'll go ahead and show the gear and all, but just fair warning, I didn't hold back on gear. I just let it loose. Everything. I threw all the gear on. So here we go. So General Celes is going to start in the shift form. That way we don't auto cover. That's the only reason we don't auto cover. You can toss buffs, auto buffing on her if you want to. You don't really need it. Now in the base form, unfortunately, she is geared for passive provoke evasion because I was going to have her as, this was a different strategy. She was going to be the evade provoker. I changed my strategy later. I never changed her gear. So she doesn't need provoke gear. I'm sorry, she doesn't need evasion gear. Provoke gear helps. It's not required. You could have run to provoke the single target magic, but obviously General Celes with 6,000 spirit is a much better provoker than Runda for the magical damage. So I gave her a provoke with the Dancer's Datum. If you don't have this, you could use things like Mogul Charm. I used a lot of slots to evade her, which was not important. But I did have her with 11 LB per turn to make her a little easier to fill LB gauge. Kresnik is just kind of whatever, just, spirit. That's it, spirit. Now, Kresnik is technically not required. As you saw, we didn't, we never imbued the boss. We never did anything critical with Kresnik that someone else couldn't do. But he was important for filling the morale gauge. That's pretty much all he did, really, was fill morale. This morale, morale, morale. We did double stimulant in the shift form and his LB in the shift form. All of those give morale per turn. So he basically solo carried all the morale fill of the party. If you don't have Kresnik, other morale fillers are like Ling, Bulwark, Elena. Like, they're not nearly as good as Kresnik, but if you don't have Kresnik, what are you going to do? Selfie is really only here because I wanted to do General Celes, but I didn't want to rely on RNG to fill her up every single turn. Now, I could use something like, Bart's or Shearer or something like that literally does nothing at all except entrust Celeste every turn. But Selfie can entrust while doing other things, which is great. So she was the primary healer until Kresnik finished off his Brave Shifted stuff. She also was our source of stone resist. It's very important. You gotta have a stone resist buff. And a healer, and she can entrust. She can triple cast her entrust, which is a really big deal for multitasking. So we gave her high spirit for the healing, LB per turn, and LB fill rate. So maxed LB a turn, a little bit of LB fill rate, not as much, honestly. And ignore the holy resist. That was for an old strategy. I was going to imbue the boss, and I decided not to. And I brought a physical tank instead. Runda is just a physical tank. So any physical tank you want to handles turn 2 and 3, and then the other turns where he can evade cover. So he is evade covering. He is not provoking. Keep that in mind. I used passive provoke on General Celes, and I never used provoke on Runda at all. He never provoked. Now, you could if you want to. He's got 1,800 spirit. He probably would have been fine as the provoker, completely honest here. I just didn't because Celes is better at it. But he certainly could. He absolutely could. So, full evasion and some defense. That's really it. Defense, full evasion, there you go. Base form Tiana, just auto buffing, whatever, there it is, auto buff. Just some spirit so you survive. Shift form, using a card, throwing weapon, magical damage versus Aqua and Dragon. So there we go, 7,300 magic, magical Dragon 250, magical Aqua 275, and she just chained a lot. Now, this is an EX3 Tiana that is pretty well geared. I am using a decent amount, actually really not that many STMRs. None of these are STMR. That's technically not an STMR. I mean, this might be a little bit cheating. Maybe. 2 STMRs, her own STMR. Really just actually only 3 STMRs, and one of them is her own. So it really isn't even that extreme. But yeah, there's Tiana. Yigni in the base form is using just damage. Damage. A little bit of spirit. Killers, there we go. He unfortunately gears for killers really badly. He's using the global, I know people kind of get salty about me using these global exclusive, banner only cards, but they are so freaking good, dude. These cards are amazing. That's why I told people I recommend you go for these cards. They are so strong. You really should have gone for him. 300 Dragon and 100 Aqua. Shift form is just a little bit of bulk because we only shift for the, and some auto buff. And we only shift really for the shifted LB for the 135 Fire and Peril. But anyway, there's like an alternative clear for the Dragon. It was super incredibly easy and smooth. The score was like, I don't know. If someone runs this clear that hasn't ranked 1 yet or anything, if you run this clear and you get like a similar score to mine, post in the comments just for my own curiosity where that ranks you. I'm curious what kind of what a clear like this with like 145% will end up in the ranking. I'm just curious. Anyway, hope it helps. See you next time.